Hi, and welcome back to my channel. I'm Isabel Alvarez Arada. I'm the host of Covered in Pet Hair, a boozy web show for pet lovers here on YouTube and on Pet Life Radio. I used to be vegan, and for today's Cruelty Free Friday, I want to talk about how I approached veganism and how I was actually really successful in transitioning from a very omni lifestyle to a vegan lifestyle, but I took my time, and I'm going to tell you all about that right now. So I hear people going cold turkey all the time. They're going to stop eating meat completely and they're just going to like give up dairy and eggs and all the meats and all the things that have animal products in them. And I think that that's a huge wonderful goal, but I think it's a little lofty and I think it's a little bit unrealistic. Do what you want. I'm not a nutritionist, but I do believe that slow transitions from one lifestyle to another, one nutrition source to another, one diet to another is probably the best way to go, because you don't want to mess up and make yourself ill by giving up too much too fast and not actually knowing what to eat instead. So remember, most of us have been raised omni. I know I was, and I was eating meat all the time without even thinking about it. It was just like I was just eating what I was eating, what I was raised eating, what I ate during college when I finally got out on my own, and then what I ate when I was living on my own as a professional. I was used to eating what I was used to eating. And to give up all of that and just start eating a vegan diet would have been great, but it would have been kind of unsustainable. So what I did was I actually started taking baby steps. And the first thing I did was start to be very cognizant of where my meats came from. So if I ate meat, whether it was at a restaurant or at home, I would just ask, where's this sourced from? And obviously, if it was factory farmed or they couldn't tell me the sourcing, I would pass. And that took all of fast food off the table, and it made it really hard at restaurants where I didn't even feel like asking because I knew they wouldn't know the answer. So I didn't eat meat there. I opted for the vegetarian options there. Little by little, I started to not buy any meats for home. So I was only pescatarian at home, and I would maybe eat meat somewhere like a Chipotle where I knew that they have a commitment where they source meat that meets a certain criteria, then I would be open to eating that. But at home, for example, I just didn't feel like cooking meat. Like the thought of cooking meat was kind of gross to me. I've never been much of a cook. So that was an easy thing to do. I was pescatarian for a while. So I would like have canned tuna. My sister lives in Spain, so she would send me canned tuna from Spain, which is very tasty, but it's actually not very eco-friendly at all from what I understand. So little by little, I started learning more about what I was still eating, and I started giving that up. So I started in 2012 sourcing my animal products or being cognizant of where they were sourced. And then I started kind of giving things up. So the first thing I gave up, beef. I was like, I don't want beef. I'm not going to eat that anymore. The second thing I gave up was pork. And my family's from Spain. Pork is in everything, like chorizo and all these things that I used to love and really enjoy. I started to give up. We put sausage in everything in Spain. We eat meat and seafood a lot in Spain. My family's from the north, where there's a lot of lamb consumption. So I gave up all that and pork specifically, because in the United States, mostly we're eating beef, pork, chicken, fish. So I gave up pork, and then little by little, I decided to give up chicken. Chicken was actually something I didn't eat much of at all because I've never really enjoyed chicken. When I was little, I remember looking at drumsticks and being like, why are there veins in here? It's so gross. So chicken was an easy thing to give up. And so before I knew it, I was vegetarian. I was not eating anything but eggs and dairy. Every once in a while, I would have mollusks because to me, a fish and an oyster are very different. So sometimes when I was out, I would have like scallops or oysters or clams or mussels, but I wasn't eating fish anymore. Mostly for actually health reasons. The fish that we're sourcing right now is kind of gross. So I gave up fish mostly because I was kind of grossed out by what I was reading about fish. But I was still eating mollusks, which, you know, there's oysters have their own kind of gross aspect, I'm sure, to some of you. And then I eventually gave up dairy, and the only thing I was eating were eggs, because to me that was like a really easy protein source. I've never been into tofu, and it was not something that I'd ever grown up eating or had any habit of eating. So to me, it was hard to replace like all of my um, animal-based proteins with soy-based proteins. So I kind of kept the eggs in there so that once a day, whether it was morning or even for dinner, sometimes I would have an egg or two eggs, scrambled or, you know, in an omelet or whatever. So I ate eggs for a really long time until I decided that I was eating plenty of protein in other ways and I didn't really need eggs anymore. And I actually remember when I was like cracking an egg and I was just like grossed out by it. I was like, I don't really want this anymore. So I just gave up eggs at that point. And that's what is so positive about going slowly is that you kind of listen to your body and you listen to what you've read and to your almost like ethical compass as you're learning about where and how these things are sourced. And you kind of just like immediately or kind of involuntarily make that decision. It's really easier than having to learn overnight, like, oh, I can't eat that because that's animal based, or that I have to replace this with some kind of really expensive vegan thing because I haven't learned to live without it. So to me, that was a really good way to do it. And so eventually I was vegan. I was vegan from about October 2013 to July of 2015. Then we moved to Louisiana. My new husband, we got married in 2015 and moved to Louisiana. And that was really hard to maintain because in Louisiana, where we were in the middle of nowhere. It was really hard to get a variety of very high quality produce. And I had gotten really used to having organic, fresh, beautiful produce in Northern Virginia where I could, you know, there was farmers markets all over the place. Louisiana, we were in DeRidder, Louisiana, where it was really limited. And we had farmers markets and we had co-ops, but they were kind of limited even then because of the climate and the distance of that town to major cities. I mean, we were an hour away from a Target, to give you an idea. So the only grocery store we had was a Walmart, and Walmart had like a tiny area for organic produce, and everything else was kind of everything that you could see on the Dirty Dozen was available for me in conventional, and I was kind of scared about pesticides and such. So I integrated dairy and eggs back into my diet. Sometimes when we would eat out, I would have shrimp because if you know anything about Louisiana, they have amazing shrimp po' boys. I'm not huge on Gulf shrimp, but that was something that I could eat out when, I mean, even a side salad was kind of unheard of in that area, to be honest with you. So it was really unsustainable to be vegan and to just live my life normally. And I know a lot of people have that concern. I mean, you don't want to live at home all the time because you can't find anything decent to eat somewhere else. So I started to incorporate animal products back into my life in Louisiana. And when we got here to El Paso in 2017, I was pregnant and still vegetarian until my son was born. And then I had to give up dairy because he has or had still has a slight dairy allergy, intolerance, but he had a significant dairy allergy when he was born. So I went back to being dairy free, but he also had a soy allergy. So I had to be soy and dairy free, which was very, very difficult. He actually still has a soy allergy, so we're still soy free. We try to limit our dairy very, 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 very much so that he doesn't have any reactions. And my little girl also has, she's a year old and she also reacts to dairy. So we don't eat dairy now. Dairy is something that I wish I could give up forever. Giving up dairy was the most noteworthy part of my vegan journey because I remember the giving it up after watching the China study. It's a documentary, the oldest running food study in ever, because I think it started in the 70s and it's still, you know, kind of being observed now. The China study is what it's called. And I watched that documentary and said, "Let me just try." And so I gave up dairy, and that first week of giving up dairy completely, cold turkey, I woke up so early every morning. I felt so good. So definitely, if you're looking to like reset your body and you don't even want to go fully vegan, giving up dairy has really a lot of benefits. Dairy is inflammatory. It's full of hormones. It's really not good for us. In my house, this at this point in time, we consider dairy a treat. We don't consider milk a staple. We don't consider it health food like people did and some still do. Um, I consider dairy, whether it's milk, butter, anything like that, sweets with dairy in them, I consider them all a treat. We don't use them, we don't eat them all the time. We do not put cheese on everything. We really try to limit our dairy consumption to maybe once a day, ideally less than that. And that's one serving all day when we're having it. So definitely, if you feel pushed or pulled in the direction of veganism, by all means, explore it. But I would recommend, if you were my friend and we were having a conversation over drinks or something, I would say take it one step at a time. Take it one animal protein at a time. Take it one level at a time. And I think that that ensures that you actually succeed in this journey. I don't know anybody who's ever been able to go cold turkey. I think for most of the vegans that I know, it was a process that started with eliminating one or two, or maybe just all meats, but not dairy and eggs until later. And also remember, veganism can be experienced in other ways. So by buying vegan products, you're also helping the animals. So maybe you still eat one protein like I do. I still now eat chicken because of the limitations that we have at my house. We eat chicken a few times a week because of all of the food allergies that we all have. I recently learned that I have an egg allergy. So chicken is actually safer for me than eggs. And eggs was something that I was eating for a very long time. So I try to limit my chicken consumption, but still we have that. So we're not vegan. We also, like I said, eat some dairy. But we definitely make sure that wherever we can eliminate animal products, we do. And that's good enough for me. And so every step that you take, like I said in previous videos, is a good step. So if you can start by eliminating a little bit at a time, who knows where you'll go? Maybe you'll be the biggest vegan, the bestest vegan ever to walk this planet, or maybe you'll just stop at vegetarianism and you'll be happy there for a while until you make your next big step. So I hope this was helpful to you. Little by little, easy does it, baby steps. And I'll be over here taking my own baby steps too. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.